Is this roll call correct?
I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order of the March 28th regular meeting of the Town of Abingdon Planning Commission. Welcome to the Town of Abingdon, Virginia Planning regular meeting. We appreciate your interest and we encourage public participation. Your comments are important to our decision-making process. There'll be two opportunities to address the commission. The first will come if there is a public hearing on the agenda. Actually, the first will be the opportunity for public comment, which is not on the agenda, and then public hearings. When the chairman asks anybody to comment, your comments are welcome, and you can take up to 3 minutes. You need to approach the podium, give your first and last name, and your complete physical address. You would call the roll.
All right, Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Mr. Pennington? Mr. Weaver?
Here.
Mr. Sproles?
Here.
Mr. Wilson?
Here.
And Mr. Schuman?
Here. Before we get to the actual agenda, I think most of you know of the passing of Scabo Anderson, who was a member of the town council, but also a member of this body. And I would like to take just a minute, a moment of silence in memory of Scabo, if that would be appropriate. All right, thank you. I've known Scabo since high school, and I can tell you he's going to be sorely missed in a lot of different venues in this town. Anyway, next on the agenda is the approval of minutes from the February 28th, 2022 meeting. Has everybody had the opportunity to review those minutes? Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve them as submitted?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Any additional discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Next order of business is public comment. Is there anybody here from the public that wishes to make a comment of something that's not on the agenda? I don't think anybody signed up. Okay, we'll move on. The next order of business is a public hearing, zoning text ordinance amendment. Planning Commission initiated proposed text amendment number 1 under section 8-2-13, add the word hotels. And I'm going to open the public hearing and then call for the staff report.
Okay, thank you. Diana Rice. So we had a citizen make a request to the Planning Commission at the last hearing, and that was February 28th, and the request was to add hotel as a permitted use in the old and historic subdistrict 13. The Planning Commission initiated the request for the amendment, but asked that the community development staff review hotels as a special use permit rather than an allowed use. So I have on the screen here what is subdistrict 13 so that people can get a good idea. It is a pretty small subdistrict, and based on our workshops that we've been having, as you know, this is an area where we're looking to actually combine some of these subdistricts together. So the actual amendment is really quite small. If you look on page 2 of your staff report, you see permitted uses, 8-2-13. Currently, these are the uses: restaurants, specialty retail shops, museums, professional studios, and lofts. And so you drop down to 8-2B, special uses, and the request is 8-2B-3 in section 8-2-13, hotels. So it's a pretty small change. We did put it under the special use, so That essentially means that if somebody wanted to come and ask to do a hotel in sub-district 13, that you would be going through a special use permitting process with them, which would include public hearings. What are some of the findings? The OH District 13 traditionally had hotels, so this amendment doesn't appear to be in conflict with the regulations. We are looking to have people redevelop historic structures, and so it's identified as a need to allow this use where it was previously permitted. And we don't see that there'll be any adverse impacts to the natural environment with the zone text amendment, and it is keeping with, this request is in keeping with the uses that were previously allowed. One of the questions that you all had was whether or not the HPRB had a chance to weigh in. So at their Wednesday, March 2nd, 2022 meeting, we did bring this topic to them, and they all agreed that this is keeping with the historic uses and the character of that area. So I've provided sample motions based on your decision, and your decision, if you do move to recommend approval, it will be a recommendation to the town council.
Is there anybody else who wishes to address this request? Okay, if not, are there any particular questions from the commission for Ms. Rice? All right, if in that case, I'm going to close the public hearing. The next thought would be discussion from the commission. Is there any additional discussion, or is there a motion to regarding this request? What's the pleasure of the commission?
I move that we grant the request as documented in the sample motion, being that it's added to OH Subdistrict 13 as a special use hotels for the public necessity, convenience, general welfare, and good zoning practices.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? If not, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Mr. Sproles?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
And Mr. Schuman?
Yes. Okay, motion carries. We'll move on to some certificates of appropriateness. First one.
We actually have one more.
We got another one.
Oh,
Zoning. Very similar to the last one.
looking at my agenda.
Yeah, I don't have it either.
Just the next tab.
That's it. Okay. Sorry, in the wrong place. It's a request for zone text amendment for hotel to be added to OH Subdistrict 13.
B1, second one,
Okay,
but I'll go ahead, yeah.
okay.
So Mariana Rice, Community Development Director. So the request is for a zone text amendment for hotel to be added to B1, so very similar to the last one. Planning Commission heard this on February 28th, and so tonight's the night when they're looking to add, it was initiated at the last meeting, and they're looking to ask whether or not they would be willing to forward this amendment to the town council. And it is hotels as a special use in the B1 limited business district. So similar to how I explained the last one, the section that we're looking at is rather small. It's basically Church to Tanner, and then between Troopers Alley and Railroad Street. Again, if you look at page 2 of your staff report, there's a list of permitted uses, and under 10-2, you would be adding the word 10-2-2 hotels. So again, we go through the findings that would say whether or not this works with the zoning that currently exists there. And the comprehensive plan supports it based on about 7 different items that were identified by the applicant. The staff findings also say that B1 district does allow for short-term rentals. So this type of use would be similar in many ways, because we do know that there's quite a few short-term rentals and other types of inns in that area. The B1 does not include a wide variety of this type of housing, and we do know that when we were looking at the growth of the community, that there does need to be more types of uses downtown specifically that would support hotels and growth. Again, there would be no adverse impacts to the natural environment with just the zone text amendment. All of those types of review items are done at a site plan review level. So if you do choose to recommend approval, you are recommending that through a resolution that the town council amend the zoning ordinance to add hotels to the B1 limited business district.
I'm gonna actually open the public hearing at this time to see if there's anybody that wants to address either positively or negatively the proposal, the rezoning proposal. Is there anybody that wants to speak to that? Any additional comment from the commission about that? Okay, then I'm gonna close the public hearing, and then I'm gonna ask if there is a motion from the commission to approve the request to rezone to the word hotels under section 10-1. Is there a motion?
I'd make the motion that the move to adopt the resolution recommending the town council to amend the zoning ordinance to add hotels to B1 limited business as a special use for the public necessity, convenience, general welfare, and good zoning practices.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any additional discussion? If not, Ms. Rice, would you call the roll?
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Weaver?
Yes.
Mr. Sproles?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
And Mr. Schuman?
Yes. All right, so that is approved. Then we move on to certificate of appropriateness. The first one, certificate of appropriateness, Catherine O'Brien, 121 Russell Road, Abingdon, Virginia. Owner, Jessica Cook. Jerry Signs, representative. Certificate of appropriateness for signage located at 121 Russell Road, Abingdon, Virginia, 24210. Tax map D, parentheses 011-1-77 in parentheses. So start with the staff report.
Gabriel Christofari. So as mentioned previously, Catherine O'Brien, the applicant and owner, represented by Jessica Cook, have requested approval of an entrance quarter certificate of appropriateness for 2 signs to be placed, one on the existing wooden monument sign structure and the other on the primary elevation brick wall beside the doorway at the location, located at 121 Russell Road, Northwest. The subject property contains approximately 0.110 acres and is legally described, as you see in your packet. Generally, the subject property is located at 121 Russell Road, Northwest. The background, the new business/office, which will be an attorney office, is located where the Chiropractic First was formerly located, and access to the site will continue to be Russell Road, Northwest. The adjoining properties on 3 sides are zoned B3, Central Business District, and to the north is the Sinking Spring Cemetery, zoned OH. Some staff findings. The existing Chiropractic First sign has been removed. One of the proposed new signs, as shown, will be placed above the Tim Kaine sign panel. The sign taking the former spot of the Chiropractic First will be placed on an existing road sign structure and measured 2 feet by 8 feet, equaling 16 square feet. The allowable square footage for a freestanding sign in a B3 zone is 60 square feet. The wall sign will be on the primary elevation brick wall by the doorway as shown and measured 2 feet by 4 feet, equaling 8 square feet. The allowable square footage for the wall sign in a B3 zone is calculated by allowing 2 square feet per 1 linear foot of the building face. The allowable square footage for a wall sign specific to this wall is 2 times 46 feet, equaling 92 square feet. Both proposed signs will have a blue background with white lettering constructed of HDU CNC carved to give the signs a wooden appearance and be painted. Vinyl graphics will be used for the road sign. And the application did not propose any illumination.
Other questions? Is there anybody else that wants to speak to this request? If not, is there a motion from the commission?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we award a certificate of, what's the word I'm trying to find? Appropriateness as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any additional discussion? If not, Ms. Rice, would you call the roll?
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Mr. Sproles?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
And Mr. Schuman?
Aye. All right, thank you. The next order of business is a certificate of appropriateness. Cindy Griffith, Hope and Healing Counseling Center, 454 East Main Street Avenue, Virginia, 24210. Owner, Jessica Cook, Jerry Signs representative. Certificate of appropriateness for signage located at 454 East Main Street, Abingdon, Virginia, 24210. Tax map D, parentheses 014-5-7 in parentheses. Staff report.
Here with Christopher, as previously mentioned, Cindy Griffith, owner, and Jessica Cook, representative, have requested approval of a certificate of appropriateness for a new sign for Hope and Healing Counseling Center located at 454 East Main Street. The property is within the General Business Zoning District, B2. The subject property contains approximately 0.2 acres and is legally described as shown in your packet. Generally, the subject property is located at 454 East Main Street. The background, there are 2 other signs denoting business adjacent to 454 East Main Street and currently sit lower to the ground. Access to the site will continue to be East Main Street. Adjoining properties are B2, General Business District, on the east and south and west sides of 454 East Main Street. However, to the north, across East Main Street, is a R3 zone residential district. Some staff findings. The proposed sign is a non-illuminated single-pole cabinet-style sign. It has 2 sides that have Hope and Healing Counseling Center as a panel, the Olive Branch Meeting Space, and Tisch Ring Rows with panels as well. The sign is 4 feet by 8 feet, equaling 32 square feet. The allowable square footage for a freestanding sign in a B2 zone is 60 square feet. Construction materials used to construct the sign will include aluminum, acrylic, steel, and vinyl. The foundation for the sign pole will be installed in the parking lot. The total height of the sign will be 15 feet, and the allowable feet for a freestanding sign in a B2 zone is 15 feet.
All right, thank you. Any questions?
The allowable height, the top of the address is 15 feet.
Yeah, so it's from the pole to the most top of the sign.
Okay.
Any additional questions? Is there a motion on the certificate of appropriateness?
I move the certificate of appropriateness be approved as submitted.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Sproles? Ms. Rice, can you call the roll?
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Mr. Sproles?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
And Mr. Schuman?
Aye. The next order of business is certificate of appropriateness. Grofers, Joel and Vanessa Jerkins, owner, Jessica Cook, Jerry Signs representative. Certificate of appropriateness for signage located at 611 East Main Street, Abingdon, Virginia, 24210. Tax map D, parentheses, 00-2-B-7 in parentheses. Staff report.
Gabriel Christopher. As noted before, Joel and Vanessa Jerkins, owner, and the representative Jessica Cook have requested approval of an entrance corridor certificate of appropriateness for 2 signs to be placed on the existing poles at the location located at 611 East Main Street. The property is within the general business zoning district, B2. The subject property contains approximately .803 acres, and the subject property is located at 611 East Main Street. Background, the new business Grofers is located where Anderson's Barber Shop was formerly located. Access to the site will continue to be East Main Street, and the adjoining properties on all 4 sides are zoned B2, General Business District. Some staff findings. The proposed signs will be oval in shape. The signs to be attached to the existing metal pole measure 87.5 inches across and 44 inches tall, equaling 26.7 square feet. The 2 proposed signs will be wooden and have a white background with green lettering. Other colors included in the sign's design are blue, red, and yellow. A freestanding sign's allowable square footage is 60 square feet. 2 signs on the display windows were not specifically asked for in the COA or sign permit because they are prohibited from regulation as a window sign, and the application did not propose any illumination.
Questions?
So the 2 signs on the building are not there?
They are there.
They are there?
In the display.
They-
Okay.
They're kind of like this.
yeah.
Now, are you saying that they're allowable there?
We don't
The
regulate
audience
window
can't hear
signs.
you on the recording if you don't speak into the microphone, so sorry.
So yeah, they're already there in the windows, and
Yeah.
just in our code, we don't regulate window signs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that, we're not dealing with that?
Yeah, we're not dealing with
Okay.
those. I figure I just state those to you in case you were going by and you saw those and then you were
Okay,
wondering.
thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a motion from the commission or additional discussion? Is there a motion?
I'll move we grant the COA as requested.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any additional discussion? If not, call the roll.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Mr. Sproles?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
And Mr. Schuman?
Aye. Next order of business is a certificate of appropriateness. Casey St. Louis, Abingdon Olive Oil Company owner, Jessica Cook, Jerry Signs representative. Certificate of appropriateness for signage located at 335 Cummings Street, Abingdon, Virginia, 24210. Tax map D, parentheses 020-11-1 in parentheses. Staff report.
Gabriel Christopher. So KC St. Louis, applicant and owner, and Jessica Cook, representative, have requested approval of an entrance corridor certificate of appropriateness for 2 signs to be placed, one on a fence to be proposed at a later time, and the other hanging directly underneath the eaves of the front porch between 2 white painted pillars located on 355 Cummings Street. The property is within the office and institutional zoning district. The subject property contains approximately 1.32 acres and is legally described as you see in your packet. Generally, the subject property is located at 355 Cummings Street. The background, the new business will be located at the former Town of Abingdon Tourist Center, and access to the site will continue to be Cummings Street. Adjoining properties to the south and east are zoned R3, which are a residential district. To the north are R3 and OI zoned properties. West in Cummings Street and beyond Cummings Street are property zoned B2. So the applicant has provided the design necessary dimensions and location of the proposed signs. However, like I mentioned before, the signs reflects the constant style and color scheme, and the rendering of the fence to be proposed at a later time was also provided, showing its location and the sign attached to it. Some staff findings. In total, 2 signs are being proposed by the applicant. The porch sign is proposed to be installed under the front porch eaves between 2 white painted pillars. In order to hang the sign, brackets and bolts will be used. Directly above this sign are 3 proposed gooseneck lights. The proposed porch sign measures 29 inches by 15 feet, equaling 36.25 square feet, made of aluminum with a white background and black lettering. The allowable square footage for a wall sign in a OI zone is 2 square feet for every 1 linear foot of building face. The site measured distance from one pillar to the other is roughly 13 feet 8 inches. The total allowable square footage allowed based on 2 times 13 feet by 8 inches is 27.4 square feet. The fence sign would be attached directly to a new fence to be proposed at a later time using hardware. Sign specifications are flat, framed aluminum with vinyl, and be non-illuminated. The sign will measure 36 inches by 120 inches, equaling 30 square feet, with a black background with white lettering. The allowable square footage for a freestanding sign in an OI zone is 60 square feet. So some staff suggested conditions of approval. If the planning commission decides to approve the certificate of appropriateness request, staff requires the length of the sign be decreased to 11 feet 3 inches, bringing the total square footage to 27.2 square feet, and a new sign permit and rendering should be submitted following staff required changes.
Now, the fencing in here, that doesn't count toward the sign, the size of the sign. The fencing is,
No, the fence is separate in a sense.
okay.
Yeah.
And there's no reason that she couldn't put a fence there, is that correct?
No.
Other questions?
Well, where you refer to reducing the length of the sign to 11 feet 3, you're referring to the one that's hanging from the porch, is that correct?
Yeah, yes, I went out to the site to measure the distance between, as you see, from one pillar to the next on the sides, and it wasn't 15 feet, it was actually smaller than that. So I made the calculation to how it would fit in there, and then made that, how much square footage would be
I see,
allowed based on
okay.
that then. Because that, I count that as like one wall, that straight,
Yep.
and then obviously that wall that goes through there, that would be another wall that goes at a diagonal.
Wouldn't a wall be one on both sides of the building?
Make him come up, he's gonna talk, let's have him talk in the microphone.
If you would please identify yourself, give us your name, address, and so forth.
Of course, Ryan with Cherry Signs, 15775 Port Flood Highway, Abingdon, Virginia. With this one, I just had the question of would, one wall be considered where this is like a porch, wouldn't that be from the left side of this structure to the right side of this structure being a single wall? Instead of the beams, I'm not sure.
For me, I just consider it as, that's one wall in a sense, and then that diagonal that you see going back, that's another separate wall in a sense, in my mind, I would say. It's up to the board's discretion.
I mean, it seems to me it would look better if it was between the pillars, not
Yeah,
covering the pillar on each side.
I don't have
Just-
a problem with that.
I mean, that just seems to me.
I agree.
Because you want to still be able, architecturally, you want to still see the column go up. I think, but anyway.
So I guess you're fine with that?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
I think let me make a suggestion. I think if we're going to modify that particular sign, let's deal with it and what we think individually from the second sign. That way we wouldn't muddle a motion. If we have a motion, let's deal with that sign on the building first.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I will move that we grant a certificate of appropriateness to that sign, reduced to a length that will fit between the two columns so that the two columns are still visible.
Okay? Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay. Additional discussion? If not, call roll.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Weaver?
All right.
Mr. Sproles?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
And Mr. Schuman?
Aye. Janice, it makes sense that which one is which, right? Okay, I just wanted to be sure. Okay, so now let's deal with the second sign, which is on the fence. Go back to staff, I assume you're okay with that sign? Just want to be sure.
Yes, that sign is all good. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
But that sign is proposed at this point, correct?
Yes, it is just proposed at this point. The fence has not been put there yet, so there is no place to put that sign currently, which the fence will be brought to you at a later date. They just wanted to get this sign taken care of as right now.
So is there any, I'm sorry, they're coming back to staff at a later date with the position of the fence and, in essence, the position of the sign. So you're asking the commission to approve the sign that will go on the fence that is to be proposed or identified the location later.
That's what they said in their COA as to.
If they have to come back to you with the location of the fence, would that not be the appropriate time for the, I mean, conceptually, I don't see a problem with it.
They, when they were talking with the applicant for it, she wanted to put the fence at a later date. As my correspondence with the representative.
The applicant is here, so if you wanted to speak to, or,
Same place you are.
I don't know that there's anything for us to act on.
I mean, I think the fence has to exist and be
It's-
approved before we can
Yeah, it's kind
act on the sign.
of theoretical at this
Well,
point.
see this, the
can you,
sign
can you
itself
please
kind
come
of
up,
ended-
can you come up to the microphone? Thank you.
And if you would identify yourself, give us your address and so forth.
Casey St. Louis. Currently, my address changes to this address a couple days. It's, I guess technically, still Kingsport. Is that what it's under? I don't know what it's under. 152 East Main Street, maybe? Okay. 152 East, because I'm moving from my Kingsport apartment to
Okay.
the Hassinger house, and my lease is up tomorrow. So the situation is, it kind of depended on what size you were going to allow me. What I'd like to do is the maximum size, the 60 square feet that's allowable, and make it so that it looks correct, depending on what you're going to allow. So if that's a 3 foot by 20 foot, that's what I'd like to do. If it's a 3.5 feet by 18 feet, whatever the allowable 60 square feet is what I'd like to get the maximum that I can get sign-wise. And then the fence around it will be determined based on what you guys allow me to do to properly frame it. So if you said I could only go 15 feet, then I'm not going to do the fencing, too much wider than that. I want it to frame it properly. Now, the placement of it, it's pretty close to where this is, but again, that has to do with what you allow me to put up there, where it gets placed on the property. But there's a 15-foot setback, and it's all within, whatever you guys determine the size can be is going to determine exactly the size of the fence that frames it. Make sense?
Additional questions?
Well, the way this is drawn, it's not really a fence, is it? I mean, it's a background for a sign. And because it appears to be elevated about 2 feet above the ground.
Well, it's on a hill. That's a hill going up. So it's really going to rest on the ground.
I think,
It's just that
I
you're
think
looking
those-
at a hill that goes up.
I think those two vertical things are just the leaders for the 20-foot.
Oh, are they?
They're distance marks. They're not like
Yeah, correct.
stakes in the ground.
Yeah, so
meant
it's
to
actually
be
sitting
flush
on
with
a
the
hill.
ground,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, exactly.
As
It's
you can
gonna
see
be
the
flushed.
horizontal ones up and above and below the 3. So I assume it's the same thing with the 20.
Right.
Okay, well, I was confused by that.
Yeah, I thought it was sitting up near too.
No,
It's
no,
like,
it's
wait a
going to
minute.
be on the ground.
'Cause I was like,
Like a
that's-
fence, fence
that's a
posts
sign,
in the
so-
ground, and that picket fence or whatever that's called, is going to go across. This was the best we could do based on, like he says, the 30 by 20 foot, the max that we can get.
Now, the 3 by 20, is that the fence and the sign?
That's the black, that's the
Okay.
actual sign itself.
And that measurement fits the ordinance, is that correct?
Yes, it does.
If you're asking that the sign, does that comply with the ordinance, then yes. You know, I'm a little still confused as to what we're supposed to act on tonight if we're to approve the sign because the location hasn't been identified yet. I mean, if you're saying it's going right there, then, you know, that's fine, but I think staff's report stated that you were gonna come back at a later date.
I know nothing about that part. I mean,
Okay.
that was confusing to me as well, because.
Unless I misunderstood.
Right, I mean, that's pretty much the placement. Again, it was gonna be based on what you were gonna allow, and it's gonna go in between those two. If you look to the left, you'll see, two trees right there. The one on the right side is a smaller tree, and right behind the right side of the post right here is another small tree. It's gonna be centered between there, but it actually, the visual is gonna be like this, even though that's pretty much what the visual.
Yeah, it's hard to go 3D
We
in
can
a
approve
2D.
subject to.
Yeah,
Everything's gonna be the same,
Location.
Yeah.
like the location, everything, they're just gonna come back, as I talked with Jessica, about the, place, about where it's gonna be, but it's gonna be the same thing. They just wanted this as just proposal for the fence.
Does it connect to any other section of the fence, or is it just going to be a section there strictly for the sign?
right now, it's just gonna be a section to that sign. I'm not sure if I have 25 parking spaces. And as we've been there working on it, I see that there are people that are using the Memorial Park, because it's been owned by the town, so they've been able to do that. That might become a big enough issue that we need to, like, do a more extensive fence. I don't wanna have to do that. My goal is to, you know, keep it as open as possible so that those people aren't looking at a big fence that goes around there.
Yeah.
But we're kinda gonna have to play that by ear, I think, just based on what it was and what we're making it now.
Mr. Chairman, recommendation may be to approve the COA for the sign, subject to staff's later approval of the location, to where it doesn't have to come back to the commission.
I think that's appropriate. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Additional discussion? Okay. Ms. Rice, if you call the roll.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye?
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Mr. Sproles?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
And Mr. Schuman?
Ah. Thank you.
So we're not gonna do the bottle? The bottle?
We've dealt,
We dealt with this, but we
Yeah.
didn't deal with this.
that's,
Ms. St. Louis,
Yes.
is there a bottle that's gonna go out front?
Thinking about it.
We're gonna work on that, that's the goal, and we're.
So you'll come back to us?
Yes, because the understanding is that we have, you want me back up here? The understanding is that we have 60 square feet in both, because we're off of Grove Terrace is one road entrance, and Cumming Street is the other road entrance. So there's also 60 square feet there. So yes, the goal is to do a really cool bottle that looks like my bottle. That's gonna go, basically, if you can go to the other front, yeah, right there, well, you can see it. It's only, we may use that flagpole as the anchor,
but we're not dealing with that at all.
but you're not doing that today. But that's why
Thank
you
you for
see
the
that
question. I
there.
didn't see that on the
Yeah.
3 or 4 pictures. I didn't see that.
Okay.
Next order of business is a zoning text ordinance amendment, initiated sign regulations. Steph?
We have one more for her property, actually. She also asked me for a COA for, like a site plan for where her dumpster's located. So it kind of probably merges in together, but there is one more in there.
Now, quick.
Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going.
Okay.
Oh,
There you go.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Certificate of appropriateness, Casey St. Louis, Abingdon Oil Company owner, Jessica Cook, Jerry Signs representative, COA site plan, garbage dumpster and surrounding fence located at 335 Cumming Street, Abingdon, Virginia 24210, tax map D, parentheses 020-11-1 in parentheses. Staff?
Peter Christopher, KC St. Louis, the applicant's owner, has requested approval of an entrance corridor certificate of appropriateness for a site plan, and specifically a garbage receptacle and fencing surrounding it located at the back left corner of the property, located on 355 Cummings Street. Property is within the Office and Institutional Zoning District, OI. The subject property contains approximately 1.32 acres. Generally, the subject property is located at 355 Cummings Street. The background, the new business will be located at the former Town of Abingdon Tourist Center, and access to the site will continue to be Cummings Street. The adjoining properties to the south and east are zoned R3. To the north are R3 and OI zone properties. West is Cummings Street, and beyond Cummings Street are properties zoned B2. Some staff findings. The applicant has provided a location of the proposed garbage receptacle and fencing. The garbage receptacle is located at the back of the property and is sufficiently screened from public view and meets the code.
Okay.
You know how long it took me to figure out what you're talking about? It says garage receptacle every place on these written things. And
Yeah.
I'm like, what is a garage receptacle? I was looking at it the other day, going, what does
It's a
this
garage.
mean? But I got it.
So, I'm sorry,
No, go ahead.
will there be an enclosure around the dumpster?
Yes, apparently, because it seemed, because it seemed from both Grove Terrace and Cummings Street, or it can be, yeah, it's all the way around.
This is an actual dumpster, right?
It is.
Okay.
Right
So-
now, it's a tiny dumpster. It's not like the big ones. I was surprised at the size. It's pretty small.
Okay.
But I may have to go bigger.
I
We
was
go
gonna say,
through a
'cause-
lot of,
Because you know, if, you gotta have a little bit of concrete out there, because that dumpster truck comes up every week or whatever, that
well,
pavement's
it's right
not-
in on the corner of the parking.
Yeah, no, that pavement won't hold up to it. I guarantee it'll
I mean,
cause a huge divot. So just, I mean, it's nothing to do with us deciding anything, but you'll need a concrete pad out there.
and see, the thing about it is, just like that, it's outside the scope, but I'm looking at the location, and I don't know how a truck is actually gonna get in there to get the dumpster. You know, especially if you have cars in any of the parking spots right across from it.
It really needs to be 45 degrees from, so they can aim at it. They
Or
can't.
actually directly behind, and then keep those parking spaces down at the, I guess that's the southwest corner.
Yeah, it could be, well, I can't point to it from here, but
If you, I wish I had taken a picture of it so you could see. If I, because it wasn't there when we submitted this. It's there now. It's really quite small. It doesn't even take up a whole parking space.
But the truck
But
that
there-
picks it
there
up.
there is plenty of room. I don't open till
Okay.
11. And I don't know what time they come, but right now, they come to my current location real early in the morning. So, again, there shouldn't be any parking spots. We'll deal with what, what that situation is as we move forward with the Memorial Park. But what I didn't want to have is have it be directly behind when people get off of the bus. You can see where where the bus stop is, right
Mhm.
behind the building. I didn't want people to get off the bus and be looking right at a dumpster. And it's gonna be a 3-sided fence, and so they would just get off and look right at that. That's why we wanted to put it over in that far corner like that.
Yep.
There is plenty of room for a truck to come on in. That black stuff the grade area, that's all driveway right there. Oh, wait.
Now, is that driveway next to the Memorial Park?
Yes, yeah.
And so the dumpster would be, if you were in the Memorial Park, you could see the dumpster where that would be picked up, is that correct? The reason I asked that.
Anywhere I put it on the property right there, if you're in the Memorial Park, you're gonna be able to see it.
Well, I wasn't so much concerned about seeing it. I'm concerned about the fact that you would have people in the Memorial Park using it. And as a result, that's be problematic.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, within the town, if you've got a dumpster,
Yeah, well,
everybody's gonna use it.
I guess because that's a park is what
Yeah.
gave me some concern.
Well, you have to have a dumpster.
Right.
But,
I mean, yeah, that's a concern for me, most definitely, and how we fence it in, and talking with the dumpster people, may have to put some kind of a lock on it, and we're trying to figure out how that works with them if it's in a situation like that, where we don't want outsiders to use it. I mean, at this point, again, I'm gonna see what happens with that, how much it's used by people other than us, and if it becomes a problem.
So the screening is actually on the Grove Terrace side, which I'm just north-south. It's gonna be on the north side, and it's gonna be on the south side, and then the west side. You said 3 sides, right?
At this point, yes, I don't see any point in just doing 2 sides and not blocking it from the people that are next door to me. You know, that just seems like common courtesy to make it a 3-sided fenced area.
So the open side obviously has to be towards Cummings.
Correct. There's kind of no way to even whoever said 45-degree angle, it's still gonna be viewed from, unless I put a gate in front of it somehow, and that's something,
Waste Management doesn't like those.
Right.
So,
I know.
Is there a motion?
I'm not sure what we're approving. I mean, she has to have a dumpster, but we're not seeing how it will look.
No,
We don't care, do we? I mean,
Well, I
we
mean,
care, but we don't regulate that.
I
I
don't
have
think,
screening requirements for a dumpster, so, I mean, there's gotta be some basic requirements in the ordinance.
Yeah, that it's screened from view from the 2 roadways.
but it is in the entrance corridor, it is, you can see it, so.
what are the materials for the screening, and what color?
Again, that needs to be determined based on what you guys tell me I need to do. That building out there, the outbuilding is gray. So my thinking is, you're familiar with Emmett and that building right there. So I'm not gonna wanna do anything that's not gonna be comfortable for everybody involved. So the goal is to make it as nice looking as possible and work with that gray bathroom that they have there. I'm not putting copper piping around like they have, but the goal is to make it look, and I'm not gonna do a log cabin around it, but the goal is to make it, fit in to the environment.
Mike, are you suggesting that we need to see that? I mean, that's sort of what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just looking at a little red square. We don't know, we're not seeing what the dumpster looks like, we're not seeing what the design for the buffer looks like, and in my mind, I think I'd rather see that. But I will think that.
When do you plan to open this location for business?
April 7th at the latest.
See that, we don't have a meeting before that.
I've been helping Casey with some of her construction questions, and can I
Perfect, yeah,
just,
yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
just a few things.
Nate,
Yes.
I need you to,
Sorry, Nathan Bird, I recently moved, so I have to remember my address, 24383 Walden Road, Abingdon, Virginia. I'm with Walbrook Construction, and we've done several of these dumpster enclosures, And typically what works well is a 6-foot tall privacy fence that's white vinyl. It's very durable, easy to maintain. And then if you look over here, this answer, can you guys see the screen? Can I move this?
They're looking at one up here.
So if you were to leave your opening facing the Veterans Park and put a door with a bolt, I know the dumpster guys don't like it because they have to get out of their truck, but they will work around that. So you could put a fence right here, and that would allow the dumpster truck to maneuver in because you actually have pavement to here. So that would be the solution. So
Yeah, the opening needs to face south.
exactly.
It's the way it needs to work,
So
so they can access
if you had
it.
the opening south and made a 6-foot privacy fence made from white vinyl, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but would that, something like that work for you? And then that way, that provides you
If
something.
that works for you. Yeah, I mean, that's,
Yeah, and I can't dictate what you do, but I really do think you need a concrete apron there or the trash truck will eat up your asphalt in a hurry. So there's a little bit more involved there than you might think.
Yeah, we can't force you to put a concrete pad there, but you will eventually.
now you're talking about a concrete path underneath the dumpster?
Nope, I'm talking about in
Where
front
the
of the
wheels
dumpster.
of the truck.
It's where the
have
front
their
wheels of the
force.
truck sit, and when he pulls that dumpster up, it pushes down on the wheels, and it'll just dig that out. That pavement is not,
Well,
Not
where
made
I
for that.
am right now, there's nothing like that at all.
I'm gonna come by and visit you in about 6 months, and we'll look at it. But no, I have no problem.
Now, he picks the
with
dumpster
it.
up off Plum Alley, right? Your dumpster's in back?
In the Greenway Trig, yeah.
Yeah. If memory serves correct, the area in front of the dumpsters,
Is getting really bad,
that's what he's referencing.
yeah.
Yeah, it just looks like a mess, and it's,
So it's not a requirement by you guys to do
No,
it? but-
no,
No,
it's just a
no, not at all.
recommendation.
Mhm.
You can spend money now or you can spend it later. Anyhow,
so I don't have any
That's
problem
it.
with the dumpster there, that's fine, but, you know, I can't tell you how to build it.
I would, if what Nate is suggesting is what you're gonna do, I don't necessarily think we would, need to say that it had to be white, but if the enclosure is 6 feet and it works like he described, I think that would, in my mind, that would help us.
are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm an architect, so I don't like anything. My concern is you've got the house, we're gonna have the fence with a sign on it, and we're gonna, I just don't wanna get too many different things going on there.
Well, this is way away from the house.
Yeah.
The house is up on the hill. This is on down over. It's like the best location when you're coming from that vantage point. The sign is way over on the right side. There's a good bit of square footage in between those two things. And the sign sits up on a hill. Dumpster is kind of over here and the house is up here.
Okay.
As far as the visual, it's really the best place visually for it
Yeah, I
from
can
my
see that.
customers. It's not the best place for us because we got to walk out to it with whatever we're taking out there, but I think it's going to be the best for public viewing.
Additional questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the COA, subject to a 6-foot, the privacy fence being approximately 6 feet in height, of vinyl material of a color to be specified later and communicated back to staff.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay. Any additional discussion? Ms. Rice, will you call the roll?
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Mr. Sproles?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
And Mr. Schuman?
Aye. Thank you. All right. Now, zoning text ordinance amendment initiated sign regulation. I'm gonna call for staff report on that.
Okay, sounds good. So, Lyanna Rice, Community Development Director. So originally, the Lamar Sign Company approached planning staff, and they requested that they be allowed to upgrade their billboards from static signs to changeable illuminated signs. When we first chatted with them, we said, well, unfortunately, all off-sign premises are not allowed. They're prohibited, so it doesn't matter if you're a billboard or a small sign, every single billboard is considered off-premise signage. So we said, unfortunately, what you do fall under is something called non-conforming signs, and that is a sign that was in existence prior to any changes to the code. And non-conforming signs shall not be enlarged, the features can't be changed, the height can't be changed, the location can't be changed, the illumination can't be changed. Basically, what you have, you have. So we started looking through the sign code, and we also looked at what was allowed for lighting, and we found that all permitted signs may be indirectly lighted. So a billboard could have lights along the bottom that would be pointed up, but again, we have no piece to the code that would really allow for lighting to increase from the standpoint of an interchangeable sign. If you're going from static with no light to interchangeable, you're automatically increasing the lumens. So the Lamar Sign Company said they'd like to discuss the code with the Planning Commission, and at the last meeting, if you all remember, you said you'd be willing to chat with them, what does that look like? What do those interchangeable signs look like? And so they're here to chat about interchangeable signs tonight. At the same time, when we were going through the sign code, I talked to our consultants who are working with us on the rest of the code, and they said, oh, it was just last year that we updated the sign regulations. So if you all are wanting to do that on your own, let us know. And I said, okay, so we can't wrap that into what's going on. So I said, one of the things that we're struggling with are minor signs in the code. So as you can see from my examples, really we have a wide variety of different types of minor signs that any company could put up. They have 14 days for streamers and pennants, and they have another 30 days for temporary signs, but there's basically because they're not permitted, there's no way for us to enforce that regulation. So, since we're opening the sign code, I thought, let's look at two things instead of just one, because if you're going to open it up and start going down an amendment process, there's no reason to not fix kind of the whole thing. So the Lamar group is here to talk about billboards, and then staff is here to talk about temporary signage tonight. So we can either talk about whichever one you'd like to talk about first. The Lamar group does have a presentation that they'd like to provide you as well.
I would say let's hear from them,
Okay, sounds good.
use their time, and then we'll hear from staff.
Okay.
Good evening, Ashley Gasbury, Real Estate Manager with Lamar Advertising, 2020 Gateway Park Court, Kingsport, Tennessee, 37663.
And I'm Jimmy Collins, I'm the General Manager, same address.
So we did a little presentation so you can kind of see some of the benefits of digital advertising. We do have them in some of our other cities and towns, and they've been a great benefit, so we kind of put some together for you to take a look at.
We put this together, like she said, to show you the benefits of the digital and to answer some of your questions, I think, that maybe some of y'all are concerns that some of y'all have. But can I pass these out too? Sure. This is a map. In each packet, there's a map with photos of the 7 locations.
Thank you.
That are in the city limits. That could even be maybe possible. to convert to a digital face?
Because I noticed one of the concerns was having, too many digitals and the city be covered up with digitals. But there are very select few locations that are actually in B2 zoning, which is what we added in the code. And then some of those, even those locations are ones that we would potentially not want to convert to digital.
And another thing, I've been the general manager in Tri-Cities for 3 years, well over 3 years. Just so you know, in those 3 years, we've converted 2 boards in our whole,
In the whole market.
and we have 1,130 faces. We converted 2 in 3 years. So we can't just put them anywhere. We don't want to just put them anywhere. So, just kind of, maybe that answers your question.
Yeah.
Take in the rescue.
Just use these arrows forward and back.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay, let's start out. Lamar has a long history of public service, and our goal is to leave every place that we're privileged to operate in better than we found it. With our digital network, we help catch murderers, rapists, kidnappers, thieves on a consistent basis. And there's some videos throughout here that you all can go back and watch, or I can play if there's some you want to see. And there's also some testimonials throughout. We participate in a formal program with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, along with several other digital billboard operators. Lamar will run wanted ads for FBI fugitives, missing persons, and wanted serial bank robbers. And then here's a testimonial from an FBI special agent. We also provide millions of dollars in public service campaigns. We help match with organ donors to save their lives, so we run those. We find lost or kidnapped children with Amber Alerts. Unfortunately, we've seen a lot of those lately.
Yeah, all the Amber Alerts, they
automatically come through.
pop up and run for 3 days.
We are there to help local relief organizations in times of disaster, such as Red Cross. We also feature some tributes on our digital billboards when an iconic figure passes away. We work with the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, to post many emergency messages. There's a FEMA case study. We help with numerous local organizations promote worthwhile causes that benefit the people of the community, Crime Stoppers, Silver Alerts, local traffic emergencies. And then as far as digital billboard safety, we have sources from the OAAA, which is the Outdoor Association of America. And we have Department of Transportation, Federal Highway Administration, and that's research that shows that billboards, even the most attention-getting billboards, are not related to accidents. And so we've got some studies on that as well. And this is where the Department of Transportation study finds digital billboards don't distract drivers. And some information on that. And then I know this was part of the last discussion we had as far as the lighting for the illumination. And so I've put a bunch of information for you all to look over as far as that. The brightness standards for digital billboards. And here's the table for it. The LED digital billboards operated by most OAAA members have a maximum brightness of near 7,500 to 10,000 nits. As a result, the OAAA recommended lighting criteria are well within the daylight NEMA TS4 standards. So we are within those standards.
That's the daytime nits, just so you know. They go up, most times they're around 7,500 nits during the day, and at night they go down between 300 and 400 nits. What y'all allow is 10,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yours is no greater than
It's in your-
10,000.
Yeah.
Or 700 foot candles, so we're below that. Right. And then, of course, we'd also like to partner with the community and any public service space that we have available, allow you all to advertise events such as the Highlands Festival or different things that you all have going on. I know Abingdon has a lot of events, so that would be something we'd partner with you all to advertise. I think at one time you said there was a banner that you all used to kind of advertise things like that as well.
So we could coordinate that with the chamber or yourselves.
Yeah, or yourselves or whoever we needed to
In any
to
available
run.
space, we could run it as a TSA.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with the banners going over Cumming Street, that would be helpful, because I don't think there's any other way to do that.
And this is actually the location that we originally discussed that we are interested in converting to digital. I've took some before and some mock-up after photos so you could kind of get a visual of it. This is a side-by-side V-shaped structure, and this would be the right-hand read, which would be the one that we would want to do originally. Right-hand read
So
digital.
what holds up the sign would be replaced on all of these, is that correct?
Yeah, if you go back to the
Yeah.
slide before,
Sure.
you can see it. They're like 5 wood poles that are like 6x6s that are holding this board up, and I guess it's no telling how many years it's been that way. So we would go
Yeah.
from that to the one what we call a monopole, like in the second slide,
Yeah.
and that's what it would pretty much look like.
Are these 7 billboards that are in the B2 district, do you have others in the town limit that are just these 7?
Those are the only structures we have that are in B2.
That are in B2. We do have a couple that are in other zoning districts. I think there's some in M1 as well, but we've just decided to leave it at B2. And like I said, some of the ones that are in the B2 zoning are not necessarily ones that we want to convert.
In probably half of the 7, there's no way we could even convert them as far as
Access
Lamar,
issues and-
because we couldn't get a truck into them, or the guy in the power lines or something. So, I mean, there would be no way anyhow. If you said, yeah, you can change every one of them.
Right, we wouldn't be able to.
Lamar would not let us.
Right. We
Yeah.
just wanted to put that in the ordinance. That way we had a specified zoning and we wouldn't be, just changing them in every zone.
Well, like the one you had there for WeCycle.
Yes.
It's pretty close to the ground.
Yes.
So
Oh, yeah.
would it be reasonable for us to, like, if you decided, okay, we're gonna replace this and we wanna raise it up, would we have anything to say about the height of it, based on traffic, miles per hour or something?
Yeah, so if you all, after their presentation and your discussion, if you say you do want to initiate a code change, because right now none of this is allowed, so it would be a zone text amendment. There is some mock-up language that they've provided, but we wouldn't be going through that tonight. It would be like our other zone ones. We'd come back through and hash all the way through together. But, yeah, because they proposed 35 feet in height, and my comment was that's a 3-story building. I'm okay with like 20 feet or less, but we gotta come with a more reasonable number. So we aren't to the point where we're deciding that tonight. It would just be if you all think that you're okay, because the way that the code currently reads, it's really trying to get rid of billboards. And this would be reinforcing billboards, so it's 2 very different directions. so.
If you look at that map, at that second photo, this one, if you're talking about a 35 feet as far as an overall height, that's probably
Yeah, that's
maybe
it.
maybe a little more than that. So the way we do it, we call it a haggle. A haggle is where the bottom of the board starts. So if you're talking about a 20-foot haggle, that gets us 20 feet off the ground, and then the standard size of the digitals are 10.5 feet by 23 feet. All right, so you're looking at 10.5 more feet. So that's where we came up with the 35 feet.
Is that overall?
We wouldn't, there's no way that we could put a digital board 3 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
You can just imagine.
Yeah.
So, you know, we put parts on the board, behind the board, electrical boxes. It wouldn't be safe. If somebody could reach that board just by standing at the back of a pickup and get up on our board, you know, that could be dangerous. They get up there and get electrocuted. So that's what we look at. Which, in all purposes, this would be perfect for us if you could encage the back, you know, and you couldn't, and nobody could be allowed to get in the back. So, anyway.
Anybody would do that. I wouldn't care if they did get electrocuted.
Well, okay.
You said it, I was,
You were thinking it?
I'm going,
You should
yeah.
have been in the business I was in. Do we know how many billboards we have, say, in B2?
I don't at this point, no.
I mean, because we've got issues with, you know, if we're talking about 7, that's one question. If we're talking about a large number and we're changing something that, I mean, I think
I would
we're gonna-
find that for you.
I think we just
yeah.
gotta know more.
Yeah.
We appreciate what you're doing. I think we just have to get some more information.
If you all, so tonight, basically, it's just like any of the other zone text amendments. If you're willing to initiate it, then we move forward. If tonight you say, we're not interested in moving forward, then we basically stop here. So, until you're, you know.
But we weren't done with the slideshow.
We got more.
It shouldn't take but another hour and a half. No, I'm kidding.
It's quick. But this is kind of the mock-up for you,
I'm
so
sorry,
you can
I
kind of
interrupted.
see, this would kind of be the after. That would probably be close to what we were talking about, the 35-foot
Yeah, that'd be
overall.
close. That'd be close.
Mhm. And then, of course, this would be, this is the view coming from the other direction.
Same board, other side.
Yeah, and that would be potentially what it looked like.
Right.
Right, that way. And of course, this is just a recap of everything that we talked about, managing emergency alerts and public service, the Amber Alerts, FEMA, and there's some press releases and articles if you'd like to read further on those.
Okay.
No, I mean, the signs would definitely be an upgrade of what's there now. It's just like the chairman indicated. I just think we need some more information as to if we do the sign amendment. It's not only you all, but who else are we affecting? And I don't know the answer to
I
that
don't
right
believe
now.
there's any other
I don't-
companies.
I don't think there.
No, there's no other.
I don't think there is any other.
No, I think we're the only one who has any other
And that'd be
billboards.
two. I don't know
Okay.
about on that.
Well, I think we sort of need to know that. I mean, I'm not against initiating a text amendment, but I don't feel comfortable that I have enough knowledge to do that, one way or the other. I don't want to just say no, but I think we just need to decide, going back to your point, you know, at some point, we were saying we don't want billboards. And I wonder if by doing this, even if it's only 6 or 7 signs, are we going to open up a can of worms, and after we finish doing that, you know, how are we gonna feel about that? I just don't know. Any other comments?
Yeah, no, I think once you, if you specify the zoning, then we redo the sign ordinance and you say, okay, here are the signs that we're gonna permit as far as the construction, here's what they're to look like within this zone, then anyone is open to put one within that zone. You know, so in certain aspects, you know, some of the entrance corridors that the signs are currently, you know, I don't see them posing any concerns in that. And whenever I look at the sign, I was the one that asked on the illumination. You know, what impact are you going to have, if any, on residential? You know, what's it going to look like? You know, I view the signs as an upgrade to what is there now, but do we open, excuse the expression, Pandora's box or something of that nature? And I'm not sure we have all the answers yet.
That's kind of what our proposed language kind of states too. It would just be a cap and rebuild. It would be only the signs that are existing now. It would be no new builds, and it would strictly be that inventory that's already existing in B2, which for us.
As long as that didn't set
Right.
some type of precedence, you know, then that may be something for the commission to consider. You know, but again, you know, the way the ordinance is written right now is basically to do away
Correct.
with billboards. So, just like the chairman stated, I just need some more information, and then us to sit down and think about it.
Well, just think about, you know, people are getting harder and harder to reach, and the small businesses, you know, it's getting harder and harder for them to get their name out. The olive oil, you know, for instance, on her different, you know, how many flavors does she have? You know, to get that word out. The more people that can advertise, you know, you can go from one advertiser to 8 on that one board, you know. and
Instead
what
of
that,
having
you know,
more
and
boards.
To use a city or a town, to me, I would think it'd be more sales tax dollars coming in, so.
I mean, I like the idea of the upgrade, I just don't feel comfortable going, at least personally, voting one way or the other on that right at this moment.
No,
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't really looking forward to this conversation because I didn't think I was gonna like it. But I'm a whole lot more comfortable with it.
The product
Yeah.
itself is attractive. I mean, the monopole
Yeah.
versus some of the ones now that have the 4, 5, 6 crooked and rickety poles, you know, it's obvious from an appearance standpoint if they have to be there.
Yeah.
It looks better. I think it's the town deciding which way they want to go, either yes or no, with signs in general is more key to what we would proceed with.
Do you allow on-premise digital?
Changeable signs on premises.
Yeah.
So, I guess one of the things that they had proposed was that it's just for non-conforming signs, so it isn't, you know, for new signs, there wouldn't be a proposal for new signs, but, what other information would you all want me to bring back for the next meeting? I hear the total number of signs in B2, because even though you say 7, yeah. I mean, for example, this one that you have on Main Street, I see 2 signs here.
Okay, you're talking about
I
per
did seven
phase.
structures.
7 structures.
7 structures, so,
Yeah,
you know,
7
right now we're
structures.
already getting to 14 digital, I mean, the possibility, not that.
Oh, right.
But you
No,
all, you know,
Oh.
we have to think of maximum, so.
correct, correct.
That's where we have to come from, so even
Sure.
like a double layered sign like this, we have to think, okay, that's 2 signs that could be converted to
So
digital.
we could go digital and digital?
Right, so. And you,
Not
yeah,
happening.
so, unfortunately, we can't write code, we can't write code.
I'd probably get fired, I'd get fired over that.
You wouldn't need the 2 signs if you could change it, I guess.
Right, But I mean, that's a question too, like, do you remove the other one?
Yeah.
You know, there's things like that. I mean, I think there is, the total number of signs is probably, 7 structures is possibly 14 or maybe 20, 21 signs. I can't tell.
How many actual faces?
Mhm.
Okay,
But
okay.
that structure,
We can't access
in particular,
that
we
one.
can't access it anyway with a truck. It's
No.
gotta be accessible. You know, they pull out there in a pickup, jump out with their ladder and get up on that board now.
I've worked for many engineering firms, and they're able to do anything they want to do. So, no, I mean, that's just, when you're thinking about presenting and stuff, it's just that we have to look at sort of least common denominator. We have to look at every possible sign converting to a digital, and that's where
Gotcha.
this commission has to make their decisions from. So, they just need more information. And
Okay.
I can count signs. Is there anything else that you would like me to do?
You have existing signs now. So what is the process if another company
Right.
wanted to come in and propose a new site for another, structure, or if you guys wanted to propose a new site within the appropriate district? What's that process for the approval of something other than what exists already?
Right now, it's not allowed.
And see, one of the concerns I have would be, once we, let's say we change the ordinance, the only company that would actually be able to do this based on what we're talking about is Lamar. I'm not sure, I'd want the town attorney to weigh in on something like that, because basically what we're saying is, in a way, no other sign company can come in and do what we've allowed Lamar to do. And that just seems risky to me. It may not be, I may be wrong about that, but I'd want to know.
But another reason we're asking for this is because you do not allow new structures.
Right, right.
But see, what I'm saying is, if we allow it for Lamar, can we basically say to everybody else, you can't do this? Again, that's a question I would have for the town attorney.
Well, and that's my concern is, the B2 zone. If all of a sudden you're saying, hey, we do permit this within the B2, well, that opens up all of B2. Not only where your structures are, but any other structure. And as far as capping, and redoing what is there, typically you can be grandfathered in. But once you modify that, then you'd have to comply with the existing or the new ordinance, and there is no ordinance.
Right.
So we then, if that is permitted, back to Cam Bell, the town attorney, is what precedence does that set? Do we all of a sudden place ourselves in a box to where, by granting this, we then allow it, through our actions? So those are just the questions that I think some legal that we need to get clear.
Yeah, I definitely think that.
But thank you all.
Yes,
Thank you for the presentation.
I'm sorry we keep
Thank
putting you
y'all.
off.
No,
but,
no. I just think sometimes it's better to actually see it, and,
It is.
you can.
It is. Thank you.
It makes a big difference, so. So anything you need me to provide to you?
You've provided this, so I'll get
Okay.
more information from, total numbers do a drive-by basically through the B2 on every street, and then we'll also, I'll pass this by the town attorney,
Okay,
see what he has to say.
okay.
And then I'll keep you in the loop as usual.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we were gonna talk to staff about the signs that, temporary signs.
I can be real quick about it, and we can wait, because if you're gonna wait for them, it makes more sense to do it all together, but, yeah, my question to you all is, we have all these minor signs that we don't permit, and you can just see a couple of pictures of examples here that I put in where, there's really no way for us to monitor it, so, what we were gonna propose was that they're not, unpermitted, that we actually permit them and say, here's a sign permit for 14 days, here's 2 stickers to put on the back of it. You can go and put these out here for 14 days, we'll come by, and if your stickers say, expiration date on such and such a date, our code compliance guy will take them away, basically. So it's really just changing them from unpermitted to permitted.
That makes very good sense.
It sure does.
Because we just can't enforce something if you don't permit it.
Right.
There's just really nothing to do, so.
Well, the other thing, if you have, say, a small permitting fee, you may find that people just say, I'm not gonna fool with, I'm not gonna do it. So you may end up helping yourself by just not having to.
Well, and it's, I know billboards serve a valuable purpose, but I'm not technologically savvy. Facebook, all of the different mediums that are out there, you see more and more companies going to that to reach their target audience. Again, that I've passed that. But I don't, under the ordinance right now, it's 14 days. All right, they can take it down for a day and put it back up for another 14.
And you would really never know whether they did or didn't.
Yeah, that's it.
Nope, and there's nothing to tell me that if I came out there and said, I counted, it's been 14 days, they could say, no, I put those out yesterday. Like, there's no enforcement mechanism, and I just don't think a code without enforcement mechanisms is worth it. So if everybody was comfortable and said, it's fine, we don't mind sort of this sign clutter, then we just leave it as it is. But if it is disturbing, then I think we permit it and start a process.
Is that for all streamers, advertising?
I'd like to prohibit streamers, but I don't know how everybody else feels about that. All the waving, sort of dancing arm things.
I kind of like the blow up.
Okay, all right.
I'm kidding.
But yeah, so we would just come in with a modification, 14 days for the streamers, and then the key thing with the proposal is just that temporary sign permit shall be issued for no more than 30 days per quarter. So it limits that, it doesn't allow this like just repetitive pushing of the same sign over and over and over.
You get into a situation though to where you permit it for 14 days.
Mhm.
Somebody says, well, I took it down after 7 days. And all of a sudden I then have, 23 days left in this quarter.
We'll make sure that what we put into the permit when it applies, it'll be for those 14 days, and that we can have a
Continuous or
statement.
something
Yeah,
like that.
we can have a statement that makes sure that they don't get the extra 7 days if they take it down 7 days.
There is a Empire Motel. They've strung these triangular banners.
Yeah.
No, there's no way to regulate that, I guess.
That would be part of the pennants, and streamers and that type of thing that could be included in it.
I remember that at one time, before we dealt with these, they would have these little sort of signs on trailers, and
Yeah.
those things have basically gone away. And this has basically replaced them. It's almost like those things were sort of outlawed and they were problems. So there's something else that's come up that basically
Try to
achieves the
streamline
same
it, yeah.
purpose.
I do wish we could figure out a way also to regulate window signs.
Well, we could.
This business is no longer there, but there was an insurance agency on, across from the courthouse, a historical building, and their windows were just full of stickers, very tacky.
Well, and there was a bank at one time in town that everything was, in the window, different interest rates and so forth. That's gone as well.
You can, we don't right now, just like Gabe said, but we definitely could add that as a piece of the sign code. It's
I
just.
think it's worth discussing.
Okay.
Well, these people that we approved tonight, they essentially have 3 signs on their building.
Yep.
We need
Yeah,
to
just
figure
2 of
out,
them are in the window, which
yeah.
aren't regulated.
Bernie Sellens, how we can get that dumb trailer, that thing has been it just looks horrible.
Is
So
there
what about
anything
Bernie
else
Sellens?
with that
Well,
at all?
we've debated that forever.
We're still.
That came up a year and a half ago or whatever.
Yeah.
About that store.
Oh, yeah.
Has there been any developments or anything that,
There's nothing in the code that currently exists that I can regulate it. That was one of the first things Jimmy asked me when I came, and I looked through it, and it's
Because at one
sort of
time, I
like.
think we were told it could be. Because I know it drove Wayne Austin crazy.
I think you just have to move or something every once in a while.
It has to move
And they
and-
move it a little bit
Yeah, they can
or
move
something.
it, it's like, it's storage, like, would you consider like the plant store down the street who comes in with a load of fertilizer? But I'm trying to, put something in about, like mobile vending, that you can't vend out of, like truck beds and that type of thing, so maybe if they actually go through the process where they open it up for people to shop in there, we could stop them. But it's really hard to tell somebody who owns a business that you can't have storage trucks on site. I mean,
Yeah, but you shop out of them.
that's
I've
the
shopped out
difference.
of them.
That's the difference. So that's what we're trying to get at, the whole like mobile vending, that you can't sell out of, you have to sell out of your store and not, yeah.
No, I mean,
So
all
we'll
the
see.
racks are.
Oh
all
my
the
God,
racks
that
are
would take care of the
identified.
strawberry man. If you did that,
Oh,
you'd
that's-
have a daggone uprising.
yeah.
I was just thinking
I'm not
about
saying
that.
that I'm not saying that we would be regulating the strawberry man, please, whoever's watching this. But yeah, but having a
We'd have
permit,
revolt.
having a permit for mobile vending, you
Well,
know,
if you got customers inside, if Arnie Stallings has customers inside that trailer, I think it becomes a fire issue and
Yeah.
a safety issue. And so
Yeah.
they could be like, oh, you got a
There's
sprinkler.
no, I'm sure there's no sprinkler system.
Or
there's no,
the
you know,
aisle's
I
gotta
mean,
be so wide to let people in and out. There's gotta be 2 exits. You know, there's all kind of code things that could apply to
It's not
something like
ADA
that.
compliant.
yeah,
Imagine
unfortunately,
with
it's a
the ramp, how
vehicle and
big
not
it
a
is.
building, so we,
He's using it as a
Stuff.
building. That's
Yeah.
the problem.
yeah. I'll try.
I do want to thank staff for all the work. It is very appreciated, the binders,
Absolutely.
everything.
Yeah, these books are great. That's
They
very
are,
helpful.
yeah.
Yeah, if
So
I just
much
figure
detail.
out how to actually look through them when I conduct a meeting. That's my next goal.
So,
So you have these available 2 or 3 days before the meeting?
I do, I usually fix them a day or 2 after I send the packet out,
Uh-huh.
so,
So we could come by and pick it up?
That's great. I appreciate that.
'cause- yeah, I mean, I looked through it digitally, but it would be nice if I could pick it up a day or 2
that
early.
way you
Yeah,
all want
yeah.
to print all the stuff.
Well, I tried to print it out, but this time it was 126 pages. and-
Yeah.
Well, that one was 231.
Yeah, so I thought-
I picked this up on Friday.
Well, and
She had it ready on Wednesday.
There you
So-
go.
So, are we allowed to just make a
Let's
comment?
adjourn.
If I make a quick comment, we had, last time I think we talked about site plans and, you know, formal site plan. And tonight was a good example where they just had a red magic marker mark.
Yeah.
Oh, we want to put a dumpster here. Well, it doesn't show you what it's made of, what it looks like, how many walls, which way it faces, nothing. That's the kind of thing we really don't need to waste our time with, so.
Yeah, I mean, if Nathan hadn't been there to add some
Yeah.
perspective to it, we wouldn't have had much choice.
Plus, she used my drawing, I don't know. She ended up using my drawing, anyway.
Well,
I'm done.
And I think it was, you know, the fact that we asked the question and got the answer, but, you know, I agree with you. It's difficult when she said, well, I'm gonna really make it look good because I'm worried about my neighbors. You know.
Well, she started saying it's gonna match the building that's already there, and then it defaulted to white vinyl, which is probably the worst looking thing you could have out there.
Yeah,
Um,
particularly after it turns green.
Yeah.
Well, and I would say also, I appreciate all the work and the time that the commissioners have put in on these work sessions. I feel like we have accomplished a great deal, and, you know, nothing's perfect, but if some of this doesn't work as well as we hoped it would, it won't be for lack of effort, and I think that's important. If there's not any other old business, is there a motion we adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.